Hi, fifth graders. Today we are going to talk about our new read aloud book. We will be reading Home of the Brave by Katherine Applegate. She has written a lot of really great fiction books like Crenshaw, The One and Only Ivan, The Wishing Tree. So if you haven't had a chance to read some of her books, make sure you pick them up. But Home of the Brave is a special book because it is a type of narrative poetry. So that means that it is a fiction story, but it includes lots of figurative language to make it read like a poem. So with this book, we are going to be talking about some of our language arts standards, but you need to know a little history to figure out what's happening in this story. So this story has a main character named Kek, and Kek comes from Sudan, which Sudan has a lot of history in itself. It used to be the biggest country in Africa after it was a colony from Great Britain and Egypt. It gained its independence in 1956. And after it gained its independence, there was a lot of disagreement on how the government should be set up. Who gets to make the rules? Who gets to make the laws? And what happened is there actually ended up being two civil wars, different groups of people warring against each other in the same country in Sudan. And so the second civil war in Sudan is what we're actually going to be talking about in this book. And that took place between 1983 and 2005. And unfortunately, it led to the death of millions of people, left the country divided. In fact, after 2005, what ended up happening is there is now a northern Sudan and a southern Sudan. They're two different countries. But unfortunately, lots of people died in this war. Also, lots of people were moved from their homes because it wasn't safe. And a person who is moved from their home country because it isn't safe is called a refugee. It's a person who is leaving their country, not because they want to, not because they're like, hey, that's better over there, but really because they have to in order to survive. They're leaving a place that has war going on. There's a natural disaster maybe that didn't make it safe. Their home's no longer there. They might have been persecuted or someone is trying to kill them. So these are reasons that people would move from their home country. And in this book, Kek is a part of a tribe from Sudan called the Nuer tribe. And this tribe does a lot of herding cattle. And so they move to places where there is water or where there's fresh grass. And they move with the seasons. So if it's rainy, they might move somewhere else. If it's a dry season, they've got to move so that they can find food and water for the cattle. And in this tribe, they have a special ceremony. And this is called a coming of age ceremony, where it might be a child who is having a ceremony to show that they are now an adult, or they're a man, or they're a woman, and they get to kind of make their own decisions now. And we have a lot of different cultures that do some sort of coming of age ceremony, or even just a significant time in their life when you go, oh, they're now an adult. They get to do more adult things. That doesn't necessarily mean they're out of their parents' household, but they're kind of honored in these cultures of you now get to make those own decisions. So in the US right now, kind of is like when you get your driver's license, oh, you're more of an adult. You get to make some more adult decisions. In the Jewish culture, they have a big party called a bat mitzvah or a bar mitzvah. And they do that big party and say, hey, this person is going from a boy to being a man. In Spanish cultures, they might have a quinceañera party where a girl turns 15. She gets to have this big party of, oh, you're now a woman. So we have all of these different ceremonies that are really honored in these cultures. They're really a big, deep part of the culture. In the Nuer tribe, their ceremony would be that they would actually use a little razor and carve in these lines on the forehead called the gar. And it was a really visual symbol of, if you don't have it, you're a little boy. And if you do have it, you're a man and you get to make your own decisions. So that was a really big part of their culture and their tribe. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Lost Boys of Sudan. And this is talking about how there were over 27,000 orphaned kids who lost their parents in this war. And then the other piece of that is this book takes place in Minnesota, which is cool. And Minnesota is home to a lot of refugees. In 2018, we had over 27% of Minnesota's foreign-born refugees, or people who were born away, were from Africa. And most of these were actually refugees fleeing wars in Sudan, Liberia, and Somalia.